The impact thudded through the frozen air. Snow dust lifted in a hard gust, and the faint, strained sound of someone crying carried under the wrecked sedan. Brooks stepped out of the ambulance into a blast of Midwest wind that felt like a slap through his hood. The shoulder of Route 19 was a sheet of compacted ice, headlights bouncing off it in a jittery glow. Engine 12 was already on scene, their officers spreading out, boots crunching as they knelt near the crumpled car half buried in snow. "Car's unstable," Lieutenant Harris called. "Front end's on a drift, rear wheels barely touching. Nobody gets under it yet." Another gust hit. The sedan shifted a centimeter, just enough for everyone to hear it. A slow, tired creak. Brooks tightened his gloves. "Someone's trapped." "Female, conscious, pinned at the hips," Harris answered, radio still in hand. "We need cribbing. We need a good base." Then the cry came again, weak, close. Brooks didn't wait. He dropped to his knees, lay flat and slid into the icy slush beside the passenger side. His heartbeat thumped in his ears louder than traffic. "Ma'am," he called. "I'm Brooks with EMS. I'm right here." A pale face appeared in the narrow gap under the frame, breath fogging in bursts. She was maybe mid-20s. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes. "I can't move," she whispered. "I know." "Don't try," Brooks said, voice steady. He inched his arm in until he could find her wrist. Pulse was fast, skin cold and tightening. "What's your name?" "Leah." "Okay, Leah, you're talking, you're breathing, that's good. We're gonna lift this car off you, but I need you awake with me." Behind him, boots thudded, crews unloading cribbing blocks, wedges, struts. Radios crackled through static. A semi rolled by on the highway, the rumble shivering the ground. The sedan answered with another long creak. Harris leaned down. "Brooks, I need you out from under there until we get stabilization." Brooks didn't move. "She's bleeding from somewhere on the right side. I can't see it, but I can feel the warmth." He pressed his glove under the edge, finding the torn fabric and the steady seep of blood. "If I back out now, she's got minutes before she freezes or bleeds too much." Harris exhaled, frustrated but knowing the score. "Fine, stay tight to the wheel well. Don't shift anything." A brief pause settled, just long enough for Brooks to hear Leah's breathing hitch. Fear, cold, maybe both. He gave her hand a light squeeze. "I grew up 2 towns over," he murmured, a quiet human moment carved out of the chaos. "This stretch of road always iced first. You're not the only one it caught tonight." Her eyes closed, then opened again. A small nod. Another truck passed. The vibration pushed a fine spray of snow from the drift, dusting Brooks' helmet. He felt the frame settle a little, maybe a hair, but enough to spike his pulse. "Cribbing coming in on the Bravo side," someone shouted. Wood blocks clacked together, a familiar, comforting sound in any extrication. But then another voice cut through. "We've got a leak back here. Smells like gas." Brooks stiffened. The wind carried the faint, sharp scent toward the front. Not strong yet. Not pooling. But present. Harris's radio barked orders. "No sparks, no metal on metal. Keep tools low. Watch battery cables." Brooks kept his face lowered, shielding Leah from the sudden shift in tone. "You still with me?" "Yes." But her voice trembled now. "We're getting you out. Nothing about this is as bad as it sounds." He knew that wasn't entirely true, but people needed anchors in moments like this. He'd been that anchor for 20 years. A firefighter slid beside him, pushing in a thermal blanket. For her. Brooks tucked it around Leah's shoulders as best he could in the cramped space. Her shivering eased just slightly. Then from somewhere behind the car, a sharp crack echoed, like ice breaking under heavy weight. "Hold!" Harris yelled. "Check that sound!" Brooks's breath froze in his throat. He waited, feeling the frame above him, sensing the minute tremors through his forearm. Another quieter crack answered it. The snowdrift, the one supporting the entire front quarter of the sedan, was settling, melting from engine heat, shifting under weight. The car moved another millimeter. Leah felt it too, her eyes widened. "It's okay," Brooks said, though his jaw tightened. "We're adjusting cribbing. You might feel little movements. Just stay with me." But Harris's tone told a different story. This drift's giving way. We need that first lift ready yesterday. Brooks adjusted pressure on Leah's wound, feeling blood warm his glove. The cold bit at his knees, water seeping through layers. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Another unit responding. He knew they were running out of time. The ground trembled again, this time not from a passing truck. A deeper, slower shift. Brooks looked up toward the wheel well, eyes narrowing. Something was changing, and then the front bumper dipped an inch. The bumper dipped, groaning as metal shifted against ice. Snow cracked under the weight. And for a split second, everyone on scene froze the way firefighters do when instinct says this is about to go bad. Brooks shoved his shoulder tighter against the wheel well, keeping himself between Leah and the shifting sedan. "Leah, don't move, not an inch." Her breath quivered. "Is it falling?" "No," he said. "Not yet," he added silently. Harris's voice snapped across the scene. "Get more cribbing on the Bravo front. Move, move." Wood thumped against ice. Wedges hammered into place. The ground vibrated with each strike. Brooks could feel those impacts through his ribs. Another crack echoed. The drift supporting the sedan's front end was melting into soft slush under the engine heat. They were losing the one thing holding thousands of pounds off the trapped woman. A firefighter slid beside Brooks. "Command wants you out until we stabilize the front." Brooks shook his head without looking away from Leah. "She's bleeding. I pull out and she goes downhill fast." The firefighter hesitated, then backed off, relaying it to command. Brooks heard Harris swear under his breath. Leah blinked slowly, her eyes losing sharpness. A micro moment. Her lips tightened like she was trying to swallow panic, but didn't have the strength. Brooks recognized that look. He'd seen it in cold water rescues, rollover ejections, farm accidents miles from the nearest heater. Hypothermia wasn't hours away. It was already at the door. "Leah, hey," he said, tapping 2 fingers on her shoulder. "Stay awake, look at me." "I'm trying." A gust of wind shoved across the highway, lifting powdery snow and carrying the smell of gasoline with it. Stronger now, sharper. Brooks felt it catch in his throat. He lowered his voice. "Harris, we need that leak isolated or controlled. It's getting worse." "We're on it," Harris replied, but his tone said they hadn't found the source yet. Another truck roared past on the highway, sending a deep vibration through the ground. The sedan answered with a threatening creak. Brooks felt the frame sag another fraction. Not a full collapse, but enough to matter. Enough to steal time they didn't have. "Strut's coming in," someone yelled. Metal clanked. The first stabilization strut locked in with a hollow thud, then another on the Charlie side. For a moment, just a heartbeat, the car stopped moving. Brooks exhaled through frozen air. Leah squeezed his glove, barely. A small gesture, but human, grounding. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't thank me until you're standing again," he said, steady but soft. A firefighter approached from behind. "We've got the lift plan. Bottle jacks on the Bravo front, stabilized from the Alpha. Once we get that first inch, we're pulling you and her together." Brooks nodded. First inch was always the longest mile. Crews moved fast. Jacks set, boards placed, crib stacks built like square towers on icy ground. Radios buzzed. Someone cursed as their gloves slipped on frozen metal. The wind had picked up, driving snow sideways. Visibility was dropping again. Harris crouched beside the front bumper. "All units clear except Brooks. On my count, we start the lift. Slow and steady. Watch that leak." Brooks leaned closer to Leah. "You'll feel the car lift. It might shift. You good with that?" "I don't have a choice," she murmured. A faint attempt at humor. "Good sign." "Count it," a firefighter shouted. Harris raised a hand. 3, 2, 1, lift. The jacks pressed upward. The sedan groaned like a tired animal. Brooks watched the wheel well rise millimeter by millimeter. Snow slid off the fender. The front bumper edged upward. "Hold," Harris called. "Check cribbing." Blocks tightened. No slippage. "Continue." More lifting, more creaking. The inch was coming, slow but real. Brooks felt Leah's legs shift under the car, only slightly, but enough for blood to pulse heavier against his glove. He adjusted pressure. "Stay with me, Leah. You're doing great." "I can feel it. Moving," she said through clenched teeth. "That's the idea." Another quarter inch, then another. Harris called out, "We're at point 8, almost there." Brooks braced his knees, ready to pull her the second he had clearance. He looked over his shoulder at the small rescue crew waiting to assist. Their eyes were locked on him. Timing would matter. One mistake and the whole lift could shift sideways. "Point 9, Leah winced, a sudden sharp inhale. "It hurts more." "Why does it hurt more?" Because the pressure was changing. Because pinned limbs don't appreciate freedom returning. Because none of this was gentle. Brooks steadied his voice. "Pain means you're coming out of this. Hang on." 1 inch, Harris yelled. "Hold! Hold position!" A cold gust ripped across the scene, and with it came the unmistakable hiss of escaping fuel, louder than before. Brooks froze. "Harris, that leak just got worse." Before Harris could answer, a new sound cut through the wind, a wet pop, followed by a splatter under the engine bay. Something had ruptured. Leah's eyes widened in terror. Brooks felt the same spike of fear flash through his chest. He didn't say a word, just tightened his grip on her shoulder, and then the jacks shifted. Not much, but enough. The entire front end lurched half an inch to the left. The sedan lurched left, metal scraping against ice. A collective shout rose from the crew. Snow shook loose from the undercarriage in a dusty cascade. Brooks instinctively hunched over Leah, bracing for a collapse that, by some miracle, didn't come. Not yet. "Hold the lift," Harris barked. Nobody moved the jacks. The car settled again, uneven now, tilted just enough that Brooks felt it in the angle of his own shoulders. Leah sucked in a sharp breath, pain ripping across her expression. "What happened?" she whispered. "Small shift," Brooks said. "We're still good." And he hoped she couldn't hear the tremor in the wind that carried the new fuel leak louder and closer. A firefighter approached the front, crouching low, peering under the engine block. "Harris, we've got a line blown. It's dripping steady now." Harris's reply came clipped. "Limit operations on the Alpha side. No tools that spark, and someone get a dry chem extinguisher staged right now." Brooks swallowed hard. Fuel leaks on icy ground were unpredictable. Puddles forming, spreading, moving with meltwater. He needed this extrication to speed up, not slow down. He looked back at Leah. She was shivering violently now, her lips pale blue. "Leah, talk to me," he said. I'm trying. It's so cold, my legs. I can't feel them." "That's the cold and the pressure. Both are temporary, you hear me?" A small nod. Her eyelids fluttered. A quiet micro-moment. She pressed her forehead against his forearm, just for a second, as if borrowing warmth or will. It cut through him deeper than the wind ever could. "Stay awake," he reminded her gently. Behind him, Harris was recalculating on the fly. "We've got to restabilize before we continue the lift. That drift isn't supporting anything now. We need a crib stack under the cross member. But that's where it's leaking," someone countered. "Then work around it. Carefully." The crew moved fast, urgency tightening every word, every boot step. Cribbing blocks slapped down, wedges hammered, struts repositioned. The wind made every motion harder. Gloves stiff, fingers numb, tools slipping. Another low vibration rolled through the ground. Not from traffic. Something shifting deeper beneath the icy shoulder. Brooks felt it like a slow heartbeat under the snow. "Harris, the ground's softening here." Harris looked over sharply. "We're losing the shoulder?" "Feels like it." "Then we finish this lift now. No delays." Brooks leaned back toward Leah. "Okay, last push coming. As soon as we clear your hips, I'm pulling you out." Her breathing hitched. "Will it hurt?" "Yes," he told her honestly. "But it's the kind that means you're almost free." Snow stung his cheek as he shifted position. The crew retightened wedges. The jacks reset. Radios crackled with cold static. "Ready for final lift," Harris announced. "All teams clear except Brooks." Brooks braced himself, one arm under Leah's shoulders, the other maintaining pressure on her wound. His knees dug into melting snow that felt more like slush now, thin, unstable. Harris raised his gloved hand. 3, 2, 1, lift. The jacks pressed upward. A long, grinding moan stretched from the frame. The sedan rose, slow, grudging, but it rose. An inch became a hair more, enough space that Brooks could see snow where metal had pinned flesh. Hold! Cribbing check! A firefighter dove in, eyes scanning. Cribs holding. 1 more quarter inch and she's clear. Brooks leaned close to Leah. We're almost there. I need you to stay awake. Stay with me. Her eyes drifted. She muttered something he didn't catch. Leah. He tapped her cheek lightly. Stay here, right here. Another quarter inch. Harris called the number. She's clear. Brooks, pull her. Brooks slid both arms under Leah's torso, careful of the wound, careful of her breathing. Snow soaked through his uniform as he dragged himself backward inch by inch. Her lower body slipped free from the pinch point. She gasped, a strangled, instinctive sound as circulation returned in a painful rush. You're okay. I've got you, Brooks murmured. He pulled again. Half her body now clear. 2 firefighters reached in, ready to take her as soon as he passed her forward. Then the ground under his right knee gave a soft, wet collapse. He sank an inch into slush, then another. The shoulder was breaking apart beneath them. Brooks, move! A firefighter shouted. He gritted his teeth and hauled Leah again. She slid another foot toward safety. The sedan groaned overhead, weight shifting in response to the failing ground. Come on, Leah, Brooks growled through frozen breath. Stay with me. They were almost out. Almost. He reached for another pull, and suddenly the rear wheel dropped, tearing through the weakened snowbank with a jarring thud that shook the entire car. The sedan leaned violently toward Brooks and Leah. The rear wheel slammed down, sending a hollow shock through the frame. Snow exploded outward in a white burst. The sedan heaved toward Brooks and Leah, its shadow swallowing their narrow pocket of space. Back, everybody back! Harris shouted, boots scraping across ice. Brooks didn't back. He wrapped both arms around Leah's torso, pinned his boots into slush, and pulled with everything he had left. The car groaned again, an ugly pitching sound, its center of gravity shifting toward the collapse. Brooks, move! A firefighter yelled. I am, he barked, though his voice stayed steady the way it had to. Leah's breath hitched with every drag. She felt heavier now, not because she'd changed, but because his arms were numb, soaked, stiff with cold. Snow stung his cheeks like grit. His SCBA harness dug into his ribs each time he leaned back. Another inch, then another. The sedan dipped again, closer this time. A low-air alarm somewhere behind him started chirping, a reminder that time was thinning for everyone. We've got to countershore that rear, someone called. No time, Harris snapped. Get them out first. Brooks dragged her again. Firefighters reached forward, gloved hands grabbing her jacket, her arms, anything they could safely hold. Brooks felt her slip from his grasp into theirs, a relief that washed straight through his frozen joints. Got her! One firefighter shouted. Back up! Back up! Leah disappeared into a waiting blanket line, paramedics lifting her onto a sled. Brooks exhaled hard, but the collapse wasn't done. The sedan bucked again, settling deeper into the compromised drift. Metal popped. A jack shifted, tipping sideways. Brooks, clear out! Harris yelled. Brooks planted his palms in the snow and shoved himself backward. His boots slipped twice before finding traction. He crab-walked out from under the wheel well just as the front bumper dipped another 2 inches. He cleared the danger zone and rolled onto his back, staring at the gray sky he hadn't looked at once since arriving. Cold air scraped his lungs. He didn't realize how hard he was breathing until he stopped. A firefighter pulled him to his feet. You good? Yeah. He coughed once. Yeah, I'm good. But a small moment hit him. Quiet, almost private. That familiar sting behind the sternum. The feeling he never said out loud. The job always took a little piece, and tonight had taken another. He brushed it off with a breath and moved toward Leah. Medics were already cutting her pant leg, revealing bruising and swelling across her hips and thighs. The bleeding he'd been controlling was less severe now that she was free, but still concerning. Her skin had the pale, waxy look of someone halfway to hypothermia. "Brooks," she murmured, eyes drifting toward him. He knelt beside her. "Right here." They got the car off?" He almost smiled. "You're out. That's what matters." The other medic wrapped a warm pack against her side. Another covered her with heated blankets from the rig. The wind had teeth now, biting harder as the storm shifted direction. "Let's go," the medic said. "Hospital's 20 minutes." Brooks nodded and helped guide the sled to the ambulance bay. They loaded her in, working fast but steady, anchoring the straps, connecting monitors. Before the doors closed, Leah reached out. Not dramatic, not desperate, just a small, tired gesture. Her fingers brushed his glove. "Thank you for not leaving." Brooks didn't answer right away, just pressed his glove lightly over her hand. Didn't plan to. The door shut. The ambulance pulled away, taillights blurring red through wind-driven snow. Behind him, the sedan finally gave up the rest of its weight with a heavy collapsing slump. Cribbing towers toppled sideways. Snow splashed upward. The car settled into the drift like a defeated animal curling in on itself. "Glad we didn't wait any longer," Harris muttered, stepping beside him. Brooks nodded. Another minute and she wouldn't have made it. Harris gave a low exhale, half relief, half exhaustion. "You good to help clear the scene?" Brooks opened his mouth to answer, but paused. His gloves were soaked, fingertips numb. His knees ached. And somewhere under all that, he felt the soft echo of Leah leaning into his forearm for warmth, the desperate trust of someone who had nothing else to hold on to. "I'll help," he said finally, pulling his hood up against the wind. "Just give me a minute to breathe." Harris nodded once and walked off to coordinate teardown. Brooks stood there alone for a moment, the storm swirling around him, the hiss of wind replacing the chaos of minutes before. He watched the tire tracks from the ambulance fade under drifting snow until they were gone. No celebration, no big moment, just a quiet end to a hard call. He turned back toward the rig. Another job waited, same as always. But for now, he let the breath settle in his chest, slow and steady, grounding himself before stepping back into the night.